everyone. Welcome to Full Range Fitness with Kelly Range, the podcast that empowers you to take charge and jumpstart your journey to awesome. We are broadcasting live on the End Resultz Radio Network from the Perimeter Roofing Studio inside the Country Inn and Suites by Radisson Hotel in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Today, I am joined by two special guests, Manny Rodriguez. Hello.
Hey. And
Jordan Affman. Look, I spelled it wrong. I'm a horrible speller. So Affman. Awesome. So since I botched your name already, I'm going to let you guys introduce yourself and tell me your title, because if not, it's going to be a hot mess, right? All right, Manny, start us off.
How you guys doing? My name is Manny Rodriguez, and owner of U48 Performance. We started up in 2013, and I believe it's been 8 years now, about 8 years, and we're still going strong. But yeah, so Manny Rodriguez, U48 Performance.
Very cool. All right, Jordan, introduce yourself.
Yeah, so Jordan Affman, and so I'm a sports performance specialist at U48 with Manny Rodriguez. And yeah, so we've been doing strength and speed and agility coaching for a while now. So
very cool. So how long have you guys worked together?
I think you came in 2018.
2018, I moved to Atlanta.
So Jordan used to be the general manager up at D1
Sports
in Chattanooga.
Yeah, I was the head strength coach up there.
And then I remember it was 2018, randomly just popped up into our facility. And then we play football together at West Georgia.
Okay.
And by the way, West Georgia in 2017 drafted more guys in the state of Georgia, more than UGA, more than Georgia Tech, Kennesaw, Georgia Southern. So we had two guys go in an NFL draft from a D2 school. And, we were part of that. So
yeah, that was exciting.
We always brag about that.
My first year, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, when Jordan came in, it was, he was already running a facility that was huge with Peyton Manning. So he was already familiar with the type of training we did, how to engage with the athletes. And, we have a really short window during our NFL Combine prep to get guys where they need to go. They want to all play in the NFL, but, they come to us for ultimate performance. If you want to be faster, stronger, and you want to be able to be impressive in front of a scout, then you come to us.
Wow, that's exciting.
Also, if you're about to get married, right? LA Fitness or one of those gyms are not working for you, you come to U48 Performance, because we're gonna get right to it. We're gonna tell you what you need to eat. We'll advise you of what you need to eat.
Suggest.
We don't force people anymore.
Suggest.
But then and then we're kind of like the cheat sheet to getting in shape.
Yeah.
That's what that guy said yesterday. He was like, "I'm glad I came here," and then he had LA Fitness membership.
Yeah,
that was cool to hear.
Yeah, for sure.
We get results.
People need programming. That's what they need. I own a fitness studio, and that's what we provide is programming, science-backed programming that will work 100% of the time if you show up and do it, right?
Science-based.
If you do what we say, it will work. The fault factor is not on us, right?
No.
Never.
We only lead them to the water.
That's right. Can't make them drink. All right. I love that. Well, Manny, let's back up just a little bit. And I want you to tell me when you got started with U48 and even kind of like how the idea came to be. So you mentioned that you played football, obviously, in college. And then tell me what you studied in college and then how you went from student and college football player into, full-time. I own all the things.
Sense. I'll try to make it as short as possible. It would probably take 40 minutes. But it was 2012, so I had aspiration of going to the NFL. But when I was at West Georgia, there weren't people that I could look up to and see anybody going to the NFL from West Georgia, because it wasn't really a thing. So I didn't get in 2012. We actually didn't really have a pro day, which that's where the scouts come to your school. They check you out and they see and evaluate if you could compete at that level. So then I remember I came home after graduating, and usually people are excited when they graduate. I was more like nervous. I had anxiety. I didn't know what I wanted to do next, but I didn't want to move on from my dream. So my mom was like, "You should go back to school." So I was like, cool, that's the easiest thing for me to do right now. So I went back to school, and I graduated with undergrad was business administration, and then I got a master's in business administration in grad school, and I did it 2013. It took like a year and a half, and I was playing arena football. I mean, I was working at a bar, so and I was driving back and forth to Gwinnett to train, with the NFL guys. So that was a really challenging time. That's kind of what brought me to this right now, because then one of my buddies was already training kids, and he was coaching a football team, and he was also training kids. So when I came home, I also worked at the campus center at West Georgia. So did Jordan. So it was more like, hey, I want to do something that I could continue to train and build myself, so that way I could give this another shot. And I don't want to go into the working world. My head was not into, going into a business and working. I wanted to make it to the NFL, and I wanted to play football, and I wanted to help people. So then I became into a U. So U stands for ultimate. The 48 stands for scripture in the Bible, 1 Timothy 4, verse 8. And I'll let you guys look it up. But because, whenever you look at it, it's basically about being just balance. It's not about just nutrition. It's about faith. It's about, making sure you're balanced in a triangle where you have faith, you have God, you have nutrition, you have, you do the work, you do the exercise. So it was more about that, and the future of what you do now will help you in the future. And then also about guidance. So a lot of these youth that we were training, they kind of looked up to us as big bros. And, whenever we trained people and we helped them get results, it was amazing. It's just like a feeling that's priceless, because you help somebody get something that they're going for. And, even though the money's not the best, especially when you started out, you feel motivated, you feel ready to build on. So we started out in parks in Gwinnett. I remember we used to host a boot camp at the Cula Park. Mm-hmm. And then from there, we met somebody that owned a facility, and, we got into Jack City Sports Center, which was a batting cage. And then we started doing speed and agility out of there, and then also group fitness. Mm-hmm. And then we met, we went to, it was like a conference. And then we met Anna. So then from there, we got into the Reb. And then after that, we met somebody else, and we got into Dash. And, so it's all about networking. It's all about continuing going forward, because if I look back at U48 Performance since 2013, if I would have just said, hey, this is hard, and I, would have stopped, nothing, that would have been the end of the story. So now I look back and I'll say, okay, well, we've been in a couple of facilities. We've trained over 1,000 people. We've drafted, we had a guy in 2020, Kyle Duggar, drafted to the Patriots. He was a D2 guy. The odds of a Division II football player getting drafted into NFL are really, really slim. Mm-hmm. So the fact that we have 3 guys from D2 and we have so many guys from West Georgia, I could count at least 25 guys since I've graduated that have entered, been in camp or had workouts with the NFL. So while I was doing all this, I was still training, and I finally gave up one day. And I said, you know what, I'm done. I'm just going to focus on building U48 Performance, being the best trainer. I'm very competitive, by the way. So then I remember it was, what was it? It was Easter. Okay, it was Easter. I went to church on Easter, right? And then the next day after I had quit, I get a call from the CFL saying, hey, we invite you to camp. So in 2016, I went off and played in the CFL. I already had gone to camp with Winnipeg as well. I had NFL workouts. It was just more like, if your name is not out there, and, you're not an athlete where, they feel like, hey, we can't really build a business, or, you don't have the clout that, will want us to bring you. I could get a guy from UGA, that just came out this year. So as a Division II smaller school guy, it was tough to overcome those obstacles, and you got to be the best of the best. Mm-hmm. So that was pretty cool that I got to go up there and compete. I actually ended up leading the team with tackles preseason, but then I got released, and then I again where I hit the, I guess the point in the road where you go right or left. So then I remember I was blaming God and I was doing all this stuff and throwing a pity party. But then that's when I chose. I said, hey, I'm either going to be 100% into, playing football and not train, or I'm going to just go all into training. And that's exactly what I did. I, hung up the cleats, and then I elevated into putting everything I had into this business, which is help, more people than I can imagine. All of our kids that started with us in middle school.
And they had the lockout during that.
Yeah,
season. Forget the NFL wasn't even.
Yeah, it was hard. But most of the kids that started with us, I could think of 3 right now. They all went to D1 schools. Their parents didn't have to pay any money out of their pockets for them to get an education. And, I believe all 3 of them have a chance of playing in the NFL. So as far as like where we started, where we're at now, we have many, many athletes that are playing in the NFL now. We have hundreds of college athletes. I mean, I literally forget about our guys just because my head is everywhere. But it's pretty cool where I'm like, oh yeah, and they all usually come back. Sooner or later they'll come back, or they'll, we'll catch up. And then high school, it's funny because this is how I know I'm getting old. I always say I'm 25, but there's been several kids where, I've looked at my phone and there's pictures when they're 11. Now they're like 16, 17, and they're like top recruits. And they're like 6'2", 6'3". And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. That happened in 7-8 years, So that kind of keeps me going, keeps the fuel. And, where we're at now, it's, we're still doing the same thing. We're going to lead, we're going to guide, and we're going to train and get results, which are backed by science. And, we're going to also make it fun. We make it interesting. It's not boring when you come to us, but we are going to get work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really amazing. I love your story and all the little connecting dots.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, but you're right. If you don't keep meeting people, networking, and moving forward, like you said, you will. It's almost. Sometimes I think it's like a weekly challenge. It's like things can change over. For the good, or what you think at the time is bad, but really it could be God redirecting you to something else. So where you had a passion on one hand, it couldn't really be divided because there's only so many hours in the day. Right. So that's kind of what we were talking about when you own your own business. Sometimes you feel like you own one business, but you actually do 25 full-time jobs or more. Yes. And so how, really pouring into these kids and mentoring these kids. I mean, you can see how amazing that would be as far as like an eternal, treasure, what you're really putting out there, what you're leaving here, with these kids that are growing up under you. That's great.
That's huge for us. Like our, like if you're an athlete or whatever, I mean, we have certain guidelines we go by. Like if you're not going to come in, put in the work, and you're not going to be doing the right stuff in the communities, then we don't want you training with us, because then that represents us in a way and is a liability, especially now with social media. Like today, when our guys get cut, I feel like I got cut.
Sure.
When our guys win, that's what we're supposed to do. That guy is supposed to go out there and, be the best because he trains with the best. But whenever, stuff don't go the right way, we'll take accountability for it. Not all, because, but at the end of the day, it's a liability to, to take on people, and if they're not going to do the right stuff, because we're going to go all in. So, if I want it more than you do, and if I want you to lose weight more than you do, and you're not eating right, you're going to come in wearing the same thing every day, and I'm going to be saying the same thing. And then at the end of the day, you're going to feel like I wasn't a good trainer, or Jordan wasn't a good trainer, and we didn't do our job, and that's not the case at all. So we try to challenge the mind as well. I mean, it's more to it than just working out. So
accountability is huge. And we definitely live in an age where people want zero accountability. Zero. And that just really isn't the way that the world works. So you can see it's causing chaos. Like the world is literally so chaotic. But part of the issue is people don't want to take accountability for where they are, and they want to play the blame game. Well, it must be your fault, or it must be your fault, or whatever it is. Yeah, too many fingers pointing. What is it? The thing where it's like you got 5 fingers.
Pointing back
you got 4 pointing back at you. I don't know. That's hard math for me. 5 minus 1, I'm not sure.
It's hard to change lives without accountability, for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, it's great. amazing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're amazing too.
Thanks. I mean, I tried. So Jordan, why don't you tell us a little bit about the strength and speed side of things? And so when I watch your social media, it's literally every exercise that I would fail at so miserably. I'm like a turtle. I'm great on endurance, but like, those bursts of speed, and y'all do all those drills and the zigzagging back and forth. And I was thinking I should come and you should put me through a workout.
Yeah.
I'll film it because it'll be really comical.
Yeah,
So
Kelly,
I'll put me on your schedule and I'll get out there and do it. But it looks so hard and so challenging. And these kids are freaking phenomenal. So, I mean, you get them there, really. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the training.
Inner athlete.
Sure.
We believe that everyone's an athlete.
Nice.
Too. So we train everyone that, motor function, which is like we live in such a sedentary lifestyle, our whole generation is sedentary. So just like getting people up off the couch and just saying, hey, just do some marches down. And they're like, why can't I do this? It's like, because you've been seated for so long. It's like your motor function's falling apart, so that's why we do iron sharpens iron, we got to keep each other accountable to a point, and really just like, hey, this is one step at a time. We're going to do this progressively. It's all scientifically based, right? So it's all about just teaching people, that just warm up. Sometimes we're just here to guide, like Manny said, just get a rock out of your shoe sometimes. But the speed and agility, the speed and strengths part is really, it's a lot of fun. Manny and I really enjoy it. Everyone comes in and works out, and, we put on the music, and, especially when all the combine, we get 20 guys just going as hard as we can. It's just great energy. And that's what people ask about the most. They're like, how is it, being around these guys that, these pro guys that put in work, like Duggar getting drafted. People ask all the time, like, man, these D2 guys must be like some of the hardest workers in the room. And I'm like, they are. And they teach us a lot too. Like I said, it's a two-way street there, and I learn a lot from these kids too. These kids are just like all in these days about, they're driven. There's a lot of these younger kids, especially about their sports. I think social media has a big part of it too. They see it a lot. But, Manny and I grew up outside playing sports. So, it just came natural.
Jordan's an athlete too. He's being very humble. I remember the other day, he raced this kid. Well, he's not a kid. He's one of our guys that is a free agent, but Jordan beat him.
Wow.
So sometimes we do have to line up and, show our athleticism. But we both grew up playing, and Jordan's actually like a human library. He could literally, he's so creative. You give him a stick and he'll create 30 to 40 different type of exercises.
Wow.
And that's where I hear a lot about the guys. They're like, man, Jordan is just, with a cone, he could do so much. He's so creative. And that's what, I guess for him is he's been around it so long. His dad was into sports and all that. So then, whenever you start adding the science and then also progression. So, we have a million different ways to modify something, So, he's been really, he's like a human library.
Yeah, that's really cool. But I love that, you take the things that God made you great at and then you're using them. And really that's people's purpose. It's been, I think for me, really, especially this past year and a half, it's been very hard to keep sight on, purpose or what you feel like you were created to do when the world feels like it's crumbling or there's some sort of lockout or everything is shutting down and closing and it really knocks your feet out from under you. But I love listening to other people that have experienced the same thing and you keep going. It's literally one day at a time, one foot in front of the other. And that helps other people do the same thing. Yeah. And so let me ask this, because I asked you just to train athletes and you're like, well, we have the athletes and the general population. So just curious, as I fall into the general population category, what kind of workouts do you do with the general population? Is it the same type of training or I guess modification of what you do, or how does that go? A little less
sprints, not as many sprints.
Great.
So we always ask, what are your goals?
Gotcha.
And we have a system. So when you first come in, we have an evaluation. So if you're more concerned about losing weight, we're gonna, measure your body fat. We're gonna, get your weight and then also your inches, you know. So then that way we kind of see, we'll be able to track, let's say if you're losing weight, where it's coming from. Or let's say if you don't lose weight, a lot of times you're, you know, burning fat, building muscle. And that's still to this day, I have a tough time explaining that to people that, you know, fat is not as dense as
Manny
muscle.
can basically look at you now. He's done so many measurements on so many people. He doesn't even have to measure people anymore. He can look at you, how big per centimeter every part of your body is. And, and he puts it in. Manny does an amazing job, like putting it in the app. That's why
we do have a app. We have the U48 fitness app. You can download in the Apple Store. So that's been our huge source now in order to like track results. We could like break it down to numbers.
Everyone gets a profile,
and
even general population.
Profile. We've recorded like tons of videos on YouTube of how to do the exercises, even though some of our guys still don't know how to do the exercises. I'm like, look at your phone, look at the video. But I mean, it all depends. Like, let's say if you're general population, if you come in, you know, we'll ask, what's your goal? You know, and then basically it goes off, okay, do you want to work one-on-one or do you want to work in a small group? But what we do different is that we're going to make it interesting. So, you know, instead of people getting on the treadmill all the time and just doing like the normal, you know, stuff that you see at the gym, we may make you do a sprint or do like a sled push. And it's pretty cool how like sometimes, you know, a lot of our clients that are not in sports, either they used to play sports or they love it and they brag about, you know, training like an athlete, train like an NFL athlete, even though we can't do that because you won't come back next day.
Right.
But, you know, we know, hey, instead of you pushing, you know, 4 plates, you'll push 2 plates on the sled.
Oh, Kelly's pushing at least 4 or 5.
Yeah. You know, so you'll be able to do a lot of stuff. It's just like it's different because you have to learn it first and then you have to apply it. So then with speed, we can make you faster. It just basically once we evaluate, we'll know kind of where you're at, and you know, we'll have you do some stuff that you probably won't even feel like is for speed, but you know, we know that, hey, we have to get the core stronger. You have to be able to run a mile at least. If not, you got to get in shape. So there's steps that help us like get
what's
anybody.
the end results?
Yeah. I was just reading that. What's the end results?
Whoa!
Oh, I had to drop that one.
That was great.
We're on the End Results radio network, so it just works.
Wow. I'm impressed. There you go. There he is with those tricks.
Yeah.
Well, before we finish, what do you think would be something really motivating that you could tell young athletes out there that would even translate over to the general population? What are the most encouraging things that you could say? Because another thing I love about your social media is all of your positive quotes. I think they really, you know, like you said, it's all about the mind, the body, and the spirit, and it's all connected. And you want to really have that whole package, really, you know, so to speak. So you're super motivating on social media. What are a couple of your favorite quotes, Bible verses? What are your favorite things to breathe into people that encourages them?
So one of the main things I use is trust the process, and I actually wrote it down so I won't mess it up. But basically, just trusting the process. You know, we always end up right where we were meant to be, right when we're meant to be. You know, so a lot of times you're stressing and you have all this anxiety and you're like, you know, depressed. But, you know, if you focus on the little wins, think about it daily and break it down wherever you're trying to go, and you accomplish those little foundations, then, you know, over time you should be at where you need to be. And then, you know, having faith and not just you, it's not all about you. You know, you got to have a lot of faith. So if you don't, then your foundation is weak. And, you know, life is going to be tough because you're going to crumble whenever things get tough, and you're going to be too high whenever things get good. So you're going to be like a roller coaster. So I always tell our guys, hey, you know, have that foundation where, you know, there's an earthquake, you know, you're able to at least, you know, stand up, you know, and there are going to be some minor fixes done, but then you're still a building. Now, if you don't have any foundation, you could get crumble at any point in time. So trust the process, you know, and if you do the little stuff that you need to do in order to get where you want to get to, you'll soon be there. Jordan?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just piggyback off of that, what he said, trusting the process. It's just like that foundation that you said. It's just, I always say you can't shoot a cannonball out of a canoe, right? So you just have to build that strength foundation every day before you have that power, because there's a lot of responsibility when it comes to powerful, especially in the athlete world. You have a lot of responsibilities that, especially everyone sees on social media these days. They want to see us be great, and they want to be all this. It's like, well, those people that want to be so great, you got to get from good to great. And I believe there's great in everyone. And really it's just trusting that process, like you said, but building off of that, it's just the revolutions of really, like, if you don't work, you don't eat. It's like brushing your teeth every day. Like, if you don't work out every day and exercise, life happens in motion. And we really like to support that, so just encouraging people every day. It's just, people really need encouraging in this world. Like you say, everything's falling apart, but really sometimes it's falling together. And some of these guys, when one door closes, another door opens. So especially when you're working out, it's just being the ultimate optimist. So it's so easy to overdo it these days. So just building that foundation, like you said, just one step at a time. Like, it's progressions, getting 1% better every day. And, like you said, putting in the work, because if you don't put in the work, you're not going to get the results. So
just like it says, if, you can't be mad about the results you didn't get for the work that you didn't do.
All right.
So you can't be mad at anybody but yourself. Take all those fingers and point them back at you.
And we're really building a team. Yeah, accountability team is what we do the best. Yeah, Manny does a great job of keep holding the guys, like weighing in and everything every day. So, and we want to see it on paper too. It's like, put your goals down, make weekly goals, for yourself. That's the easiest thing for a lot of these guys. Is like, just be intentional with what we're doing. The plan training every day. Just putting in that, emphasizing that 24 hours is really.
I think that's so good for the young kids to learn, is that, if you want something, you have to earn it, but that the discipline that it takes, getting up and doing things day in and day out. And it's a slow process, but if you do visualize those goals,